Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. I recently was gifted a coin collection, and so in today's video we're going to go through it. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so basically this coin collection that I have consists of a bunch of books. A friend of mine, they were cleaning out their basement recently and they just told me that they found them and they said, we don't want them, and I told them, well, I can pay you for them, but they said that they didn't want me to and they wanted me to have them. So I decided that I'd make a little video over it, but they're all these albums just like this. There's a bunch of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through them and show you on camera what we have. And I'm going to go from the lowest denomination to the highest denomination. So starting with pennies and going up to dollar coins. So we'll do that. But we'll start with this penny book here. So this is a penny book that says it's a collection starting in 1975. So I have a book like this. Let's see what we have in here. And it looks like we just have up to, let me see what that says, 1984 here. So we have a 1984 Denver, so the beginnings of a collection. Everything past this coin, everything prior to that is all copper, and then these four would be zinc, so that's pretty cool. So that's our first book. The second book is another penny book. It's a 1909 to 1940, so let's see what we have in here, if we have anything. These would all be older wheat cents. And that page is the oldest page, doesn't have anything, so it might be empty. And that page is empty as well. Do we have any coins? Nothing, but it's a nice album. Very nice, brand new looking album. Alright, this one is another penny book, and it's just a generic cents book, so you can put whatever ones you want in. It feels like it's empty, it's very light, but I'll open it to check with you guys. And yep, it's empty, but it's a very nice book. Next we have this 1941 to 1974 book, so let's get this open. There could be some wheat cents in here as well, if there are any coins in here. And it looks like there are some, but none of them are wheat cents, because wheat cents are 1958 and older. So the 1960s are off by 2 years there. But we do have a few coins. All of these coins here would be zinc pennies, but it's just an old collection that got started and then got left behind and forgotten a little bit, but it's still pretty cool. Next we have another one of those 1941 to 1974s, just like the one we looked at. Now this one feels a little bit heavier, so I think there might be some more in here, but let's see. So again, that first page there's nothing, which would be where most of the wheat cents would be. So it does have some. There are some coins in here. It's the same situation though, of no wheat cents, just a bunch of copper cents. So we got some copper here, but pretty cool. Alright, so we have another penny book here. There's a lot of penny books. Pennies have the most books out of all of the different denominations we're going to look at today. So this is another one starting in 1975, so let's get it open and see what we have in here. And it looks like we do have some copper as well as some zinc. And this one is, the dates are filled up a lot further, so this means that this is a more recently printed album, printed in probably 1999 or 2000. But all of these are copper except for these two here, which are both zinc. So we got a couple copper cents here. So we have another Lincoln cent starting in 1975. This one feels a little bit heavier, so let's get open and see what we have. And yes, there's more coins than the other ones had. Let's get this open all the way. So again, this is another one that's the same as that last one where it was ended at 1999D. Again, all of these that are before this spot right here, so this and up, would all be copper cents. And then from this coin and then these other coins would all be zinc. So pretty cool. Next we have an Indian head cents book, which is pretty intriguing and exciting. Now if there are some Indian head cents in here, these will be very old. I don't currently have any Indian head cents in my collection, so this would be exciting if there were some in here. Let's see what we have. Even if not, then we have a book, so if we ever find them, we can put them in. Do we have any of the most recent ones? No Indian head cents, but still pretty cool book, and it has a spot for the flying eagles too, which is pretty interesting. So cool. Alright, we have another cents book. I thought I'd open it on camera again. I'm pretty sure it's empty, but we'll have a look. Even the books have some value. I could sell each of these for a couple of bucks. Not anything that high or anything, but still something. This one is another 1909 to 1940, so let's open it up and see what we have. Nothing here. Nothing here. And nothing there. Alright, another empty one. There's a lot of empty ones in here. But still, pretty cool. Then we have another book to fill, which is nice, because I have a lot of spare wheat cents that are just sitting in tubes from doing my coin hunt, so I can plonk them all in here and get some more books filled. This one is another 1941 to 1974, and this one is heavy, so I'm fairly certain there's at least something in here. So let's see what we have. And we even have some steel cents in here. That's exciting. But all of these on this page would be wheat cents. And then we have, like I said, those two steel cents in 1943 and a 1943D. We just need that 1943S steel cent. And then let's see what else we have. So on this page, all of them except for these 1960s and 1961 and 1962 and 3 would be wheat cents as well. So we've got a decent amount of wheat cents in this book. And then all of the pennies in this book would be copper. So even the ones on this page would be copper as well. And then it looks like down in here there's a section that says varieties. We have I think that's a 1946 and a 1985D. And that 1985D would be a zinc cent. And this wouldn't necessarily belong in this book. But that's also another wheat cent. So that's pretty cool. Alright, and then this is the last book for the Lincoln Head cents, and it is another 1909 to 1940, and this one excites me because it is also a little bit heavy, at least compared to those empty books that I was holding before, and it has some wear on it like here, so I'm hoping there's some stuff in here, and maybe some old stuff. So let's see what we have, and we have a 1909, so straight away we have the first year of the Lincoln Head cent. All of these pennies in this book will be wheat cents, no matter which page they're on. So let's get this open as well so we can see all of them here. So these are all the older wheat cents, and so typically when I do coin hunts, the wheat cents that I find the most are in the like 40s and 50s wheat cents. So any of these that are earlier than that, 30s, 20s, 10s, they're all a lot harder to find. Just because they're a lot older and oftentimes they were minted less, and so they're more sought after. So these are all even more valuable wheat cents, and then at the lowest value they would at least be copper melt value, which is somewhere around 2 to 3 cents of copper melt per cent here, but I think they would each be worth more than that because they're older wheat cents. So pretty cool. Alright, so this is the first book for the Jefferson nickels. So we have a book that is starting in 1962 for the nickels. So let's get this flipped open. And we do have some nickels here. That's pretty cool. Now most of these I would say I would go and look for errors. I will probably look for errors on those pennies that we had in some of them. Certain years will have some errors that I'd like to look at. These, there isn't really much that I'm looking at here because most of the stuff that I look for is 1962 or older. Looking for those Henning nickels and Silver War nickels and things like that, and most of the errors that I look for are just in those older years. But still pretty cool, and there's some really nice examples of coins in here, like this coin here. Can't quite read that date. I think it's in 1982 Denver, it looks like, possibly. But it's really, really pristine. But this is just another book. I love filling up the books, and so this is another book for me to work on. So pretty cool. Alright, and this is the last book for the Jefferson nickels, but this is a Jefferson nickel starting in 1938, which I believe is the first year of the Jefferson nickel. Now this book feels really light, so that's not promising, but let's open it up and see what we have. Ooh, it's actually got some stuff, and these three here are actually all Silver War nickels. I'm not sure really what's going on with this one. It's got these bumps on it. Someone counterstamped it or something, but that's pretty interesting. Now, each of these, I don't know exactly what silver melt is. I know for the past year, it's been somewhere around $1.50 to $2. So $1.50 to $2 in melt value, somewhere around there. I'll put up CoinApps comps to show you. But yeah, so these are some older nickels, and they're war nickels that were minted during World War II. And let's see, do we have anything other than that? No, we don't. So just that 1939 and then these 3 nickels that are all silver. So that's pretty interesting. They saved the valuables for me, I guess. So that's funny. Alright, so to start on the dimes, we have just this book that is just dimes. So you can put any year dime in there. And let's see if there's actually any dimes in here, or it's just an empty book. It feels pretty light, so I'm thinking it's empty. Yep, it's empty, but still another book. And then this book here is the last book for the dimes. So this is Rosy Dimes starting in 1946. So we could have some silver dimes in here as well as just our regular clad dimes. So let's get this open and see what we have. So nothing on this first page, which this first page would be entirely silver. Nothing on the second page, but it does feel like on this page there is some stuff. Yes, so only clad ones, but almost all of the clad ones for this book. We're just missing 1969, 72, 73, and 76 Philly, it looks like. And then we even have some that are past where the book goes. But pretty cool, and then I can start stamping down some silver dimes in here as well, so pretty cool. Next we'll move on to the quarters, and this is just a normal quarters book. You can put whatever you want in here. It feels very light, so I don't think there's anything in here. But let's just open it up together and see what we have just in case. And we don't have anything, so just an empty quarters book. And this is the last book for the quarters, and this is a book starting in 1960, so there could be some silver in here, but it would be mostly clad, because the last year for the Washington Silver Quarter was 1964. So let's open this up and see what we have. Looks like we don't have any silver because the silver cutoff's right here, but we do have some quarters in here. So let's get this open. It looks like we have almost all of them. We're just missing 68D, 69D, and 71. So pretty cool. Almost complete other than the silver. Alright, so next we have this Kennedy half-dollar book. Now this is the only half-dollar book that I have from this. It is a collection starting in 1964, so let's get this open and see what we have. So this first page, we don't have any of the silver ones, I don't think, because I think the last year for the silver was 1970. I might be wrong on that, but I think so. But we have a 71D and a 72. They're both really nice, the 72 especially. And then we've got a couple more here, but it looks like this book is mostly not filled out, so that's something for me to do, but that will be pretty fun. Alright, so moving on to the dollars, we have here an Eisenhower dollar book, just a general one that doesn't have specific years, but let's open it. I'm fairly certain there's at least one Ike dollar in here, because I can feel the weight, but let's open it up. So we've got 3 here. So we have a bicentennial Eisenhower dollar, a 1971, and then a 1972 Denver, I believe. And I think this bicentennial is also a Denver. And we'll get this open, and it looks like that those are the only 3 that we have, but still, that's $3, and they're all Ike dollars. So pretty cool. Next, we have another Ike dollar book starting in 1971. So let's get this open and see if we have anything. We do, we have some as well. We've got the same as last time, it looks like, except for instead of 71 being a Philly, it's a Denver this time. And do we have any on any of these other pages here? Looks like we do not, but that's pretty cool still. 3 more Ike dollars. Alright, so this next book is going to be the last book of this collection that we have. And this last book, I saved the most exciting book for last, of course. And I believe there's something in it, but we have a peace dollar book, which I don't have a peace dollar book, but this is super cool. Now, if you didn't know, silver peace dollars in silver melt value are worth around $30, $20 to $30. So they're fairly valuable, and some people will pay even more than that, and certain years are worth even more than that. But let's get this open and see what we have in here, because this could be really big. So we do have some peace dollars in here. So we've got a 1922S and a 1924. And then let's see if we have anything else. So nothing on that page. And we do. We got one more, 1934S. Not in super great condition, but still, each of these is around $30. So I'd say this collection is somewhere between $60 and $90. I'll put up some eBay comps and coin apps or things like that, something along those lines, whatever I feel fits the value most. But this is super awesome. And I wanted to thank the person who gave me this collection very much for doing this and letting me be able to feature it on my channel. If you enjoyed looking at this collection and kind of seeing what there is and seeing what the values of things are, and you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I try to make content like this, kind of looking at different coins in my collection and looking at other people's collections, as well as doing coin roll hunts and talking about the history of some coins in my collection. If you have any comments on this video or would like to share anything, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section below. I try to answer all the comments that I can, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.